Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to the 5th episode of Cinemafia. I am your main person running the show, this podcast.
Wow, okay.
My name is Lewis.
That's
to my
so
left
unfair.
is...
the real main host, Andrew.
I guess I'm probably not the main host. I'll just sort of probably
there's
one
already
of
two
you
people going for that position.
But I am Asher. I am, under you two.
And we three discuss films.
Yeah. We three.
Our tagline is, we're a film review show, but one of us lies. It's something along those lines. It sounds better when it's written down.
And maybe by episode 10, we'll have skipped this whole intro thing, explaining the rules.
No.
Okay.
Anyways, Asher, what film are we looking at today?
Yeah, so today, just over an hour ago, we came out of the theatre of Alita, Battle Angel. I'll just read Google a little explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Set several centuries in the future, the abandoned Alita is found in the scrapyard of Iron City by Ido, a compassionate cyber doctor who takes the unconscious cyborg Alita to his clinic. When Alita awakens, she has no memory of who she is, nor does she have any recognition of the world she finds herself in. As Alita learns to navigate her new life in the treacherous streets of Iron City, Ido tries to shield her from her mysterious past.
And this was based on the manga by Yukito Kishiro. It is a cyberpunk manga from the 90s. And I guess Hollywood decided to rip into Japan, be like, what stories you guys got? Oh, we'll take this one. This looks interesting.
Directed by Robert Rodriquez of other fame.
He's probably done some other stuff before this. So they just pulled him out of the street and was like, hey, you? And Andrew, look,
Wait.
I might be asking a bit of you, but I'd like you to describe the game.
Of course. Did we mention who the mangaka was? The
Yes.
person? Okay.
Yeah.
My mistake. Sorry, guys.
That's embarrassing
Sorry.
of Andrew.
Oh, man. That's so embarrassing. I've got one job. Well, time to do my one job because this I can do like no one else. The game of Cinemafia is essentially amateur film review where we are discussing a film that we've just recently seen. Except one of us will be lying about their true opinion.
It won't be me.
It's not me either.
Lewis.
And it's up to the two people who haven't been assigned a card which indicates that they are Mafia to work together to sort of find out who might be lying about their opinion and vote them off as the Mafia by the end of the episode.
And if you would like to play along and know who the Mafia is, what link can you go to, Andrew?
You can go to tiny URL Cinemafia.
Jesus Christ.
You can go to, listeners, tinyurl.com /
/ Cinemafia.
No.
You can go to tinyurl.com / Cinemafia spoilers. I'll give it to you one more time with a bit more inflection. tinyurl.com.
tinyurl.com / Cinemafia spoilers.
Thanks for listening. Let's get back to the show.
That's spoilers with 2 S's.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it
Well,
is.
yes, but that's you're
I'm just trying to help.
like, yes, they are. Okay. Anyways,
Yeah.
I guess, how do we usually do this? We go for our ratings.
Yeah,
Then like
Yeah,
a brief
I think we can
little-
reveal our ratings.
We've
written
all
them out.
Written down our ratings.
Yep.
This was after one of us was assigned a card
Yep.
that indicated we were Mafia.
So one of our ratings is going to be crossed out, so we'll be able to tell which one that is.
No. But now let's reveal what did we baseline think of the film?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go.
I've given that's a 6. Not
I
a
have
9.
given, my name's Lewis, I've given this a 5 out of 10.
And I've given it a 7.2.
And Andrew, my name is
What the-
Asher. Just thought because that was happening.
Okay.
A 7.2. We've
7.2.
usually been dividing our ratings by 0.5s, so you're the Mafia.
Asshole. This is a tactic. He's trying to
Yeah.
obscure. I've got a legitimate 7.2
Yeah.
right there.
I mean, I didn't quite want to rate it 7.5 like I would have done for some other films.
But why
But
not
I didn't want to rate it.
7.25
I didn't want to
then?
rate it just a 7. Fine, I'll bump it up to 0.25. How's
Okay.
that?
Okay, fine.
How's that?
So Andrew with a 7.25, Asher with a 6, and myself, Lewis, with a 5. So,
Alright.
I guess we are sort of all in the range of it being like not a bad film. We all seem
Right,
to think
yeah.
it was, decent to at least some extent. Andrew seems to be on the high end. Who would like to start us off by giving us their opinion?
I think that it's possible that Lewis thought this film was a 3, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit early for speculation, Andrew. I'm just saying, that's what the Mafia do. They speculate and deal drugs illegally. That's what I'm saying.
And I wouldn't say Asher would have given this film an 8, though it's possible he could have given it a 4. But I genuinely quite liked the film, so you don't even need to speculate because I am town.
I feel like you would have found this film a bit too goofy, and that's why I think you probably would have given it about a 5, if not lower. That's what I'm thinking. Anyways, you elected to go first. Would you just like to make a few comments about the film?
Okay. The film was quite long. That's something Asher and I were discussing
2 hours
just
and
before.
22 minutes long.
Wow, was it that long? Jesus.
Surprisingly long, actually. But to me, I didn't really feel that length because I thoroughly enjoyed the film. I was impressed with the pace of the film. Even though it was a long film, I felt like I was, getting pretty invested in the sense. I wasn't really aware of the time because there was some good development. The action scenes were spaced apart. There were action scenes right when I was wishing there was one because, there had been, a lot of talking and a lot of development, that sort of things, those sorts of things. And
Thank you. Good save.
and I was impressed with the characters. I felt that they acted pretty realistically, even though there were some quite cheesy parts. And even though there are some parts that also didn't make that much sense. But overall, I was really happy to watch that film, and I would totally recommend it.
I think I'll follow you because most of what you said is exactly what I think. That it was a really solid, well-paced film with the action scenes were really, really well done.
I love them.
They were just thoroughly enjoyable. I'm glad there were like a lot of them. No one mentioned this. That was my job. A cyberpunk film.
I did mention that.
Oh, God damn
You
it.
guys have both. You guys don't even listen to the
No,
words.
you
that come-
mentioned it was a cyberpunk manga, not a film.
Well, you can
But it
tell
was-
by context it's going to be a cyberpunk
To
story.
that,
Guys,
the aesthetic.
to the listeners, it was
Yeah.
a cyberpunk film.
A
Thanks
cyberpunk
for that, Andrew.
action film.
Thanks for that, Lewis.
There is a difference.
Sci-fi, but not fantasy like Google would have you think.
Google says it's fantasy. I could talk about that later, but
All right.
I really liked the action and the aesthetic, the characters and the costuming. I guess you could call it costuming, even though it's mostly computer
maybe
generated.
the design, right?
The design, yeah, the
Yeah.
overall
Yeah.
design of the film was really cool. A really nice, well fleshed out world visually. Some of the world I would want like a little bit more explanation of. Like there were these strange aesthetic walls made of water shooting up.
That seemed pretty wasteful.
Yeah, like I mean,
in a pseudo-apocalyptic scenario.
yeah, this is not a post.
Whereabouts was this? Where were these walls of water?
When they were
Yeah.
leaving the city to go and
Oh,
have a look
yeah.
at the ship, there were
Okay.
decorations of
Oh, I thought those were like
jet-
waterfalls.
Huge jets of water being blasted up.
Oh, okay.
But they seemed like have a functioning wall purpose. But I mean, it didn't seem like a
It's to keep out the
post-scarcity
fire.
world.
It's to
Like
keep
they
out the
should
fire.
be
Yeah.
keeping onto all of that. Keep out the fire.
yeah, fire's all around.
Fire Nation. And like Andrew said, some cheesy lines and that sort of stuff, like the cheesiness of some lines. And sorry, I walked out of the microphone cone just there. Some cheesy lines and the things that didn't really make sense. A few sort of things that were just too predictable, and then they did happen, and it was like, well, they did it well, but it was exactly what I thought would happen. That's why I'm not rating it as high as you. But overall, a really enjoyable ride, and I'm glad it was as long as it was, because there was sometimes I was thinking, fuck, we're actually quite far into the film, and I really don't think the story has done anything that it overall intends to yet. I was like, oh, cool. That
We
means
haven't
it's
seen any
actually
real resolutions.
right. That means it's actually going to be quite a long film with a bit more to it.
There was a part in the film, Lewis and I were sitting next to each other in the film.
Oh, you guys got to sit next to each other.
I know, right? I know, right? And there was a scene where they were at the ship, and she was walking out of the ship with the body that she had found.
Yeah, the suit.
the cybernetic body that she would eventually be placed into when her current body became damaged. And it
Damaged.
started-
You mean torn the fuck up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And it was zooming out, and the music was getting really dramatic. And Lewis leaned over and made the joke like, "Wow, that was a really good film."
Yeah, because the camera was like zooming
Yeah.
out and they cut to black and
Yeah,
it was
it totally like like we both knew that it had,
Yeah.
like,
And the
there's
music
no
was
way
all
it's
like,
ending.
triumphant.
Yeah, the music it was like, wow, that was a weird place to end the film, but it did continue for
Yeah,
about at least an hour more.
There were some moments when I actually was like, I don't know if I was tearing up a little bit, but I did actually, independently of what Lewis noticed, kind of a little bit tear up. I feel some real good emotions there. But there was one point I was just scratching my face, and then Lewis just called me the bloody faggot or whatever it
No,
was.
I would not use that word.
No, not that word.
No, I like mimed like wiping away a tear from your eye, being like, "Hey, bro, it's gonna be okay."
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, then over to you. Why did you rate this comparatively low?
Okay, so I have to say, overall, I did think this was like a decent film. 5 out of 10,
Yeah.
it's decent. I guess I had the extra baggage going in of the fact that I have seen the original anime OVA, and I
look at
read.
this guy.
I know, hey,
A real
guys,
intellectual.
I'm
Wow.
really, I'm ahead of things, and I'd also read the first volume of the manga, and so it's difficult for me to detach the film, the adaptation, from the original material, plus the first big adaptation, which was the anime. And I guess, like, if I had to summarize my point, it's mostly that live action, like, anime really just doesn't work. It comes across like seeing all these like real life actors in this world, and I thought the world was amazing. I love the setting. I do love like the cyberpunk aesthetic. Just like in the anime OVA, they don't really explore the world and like the economy too much, but I was like, okay, I can excuse that. But seeing all the characters in this world, it just comes across as a bit too cartoony. Like when it's actually like drawings, cartoon characters, I guess it's just easier for me to be like, okay, I can get into this world. But especially seeing fucking Alita's CGI face, like that fucking monstrosity, that sort of stuff would be very jarring for me.
So you found the CGI of Alita, her face, to be off-putting? Like it didn't look real enough, or it didn't look
Yeah. Not
what
just
it was
that.
That
enough?
was a big complaint.
Yeah,
from what I
not
heard.
just that, but like literally, well, I'd say pretty much every other cyborg, and it's not really clear why. Like people, like there are cyborgs who have normal faces, like the like Zapan, the other bounty hunter,
and a few of the others.
I've actually got a story to sort of tell about that.
Okay.
I've heard apocryphally why they chose to do this, and that is to do with the fact that the anime style is to draw their characters with really large eyes.
Yep.
That's a classical thing, makes them cuter or whatever.
Yeah.
And some, Hollywood, room of suits, they were like, hey, we've got this film, it's Japanese, but we've also made it quite Western. What can we do to keep that influence in? And some, the intern, he was like, why don't we make just her eyes really big so that it doesn't alienate most people, but also keeps that traditional Japanese aspect of having really large eyes.
That guy
Like,
was not thrown out of the window.
yeah, exactly. It was a stupid decision.
Yeah, I
to
found it
have
very
it
jarring.
be in part of the Japanese art style, but it wasn't consistent.
To give it-
then.
well,
exactly as you said.
Yeah, and not
Well,
just.
actually, I'd argue that it
cyborg-
was.
Hey, this is actually my
consistent.
time
Okay,
to talk
we'll talk about
the
that
film.
later. Lewis, rate your film.
I've already given my rating, but
Oh, well, then I'm going to take
I'm
over
giving
then.
my fucking points. Jesus Christ.
He's got to finish up.
Anyways,
we spoke
it
about
wasn't just the CGI on her face, but literally all the other cyborgs. Comparing it to the manga and the anime, the designs are like in this anime. I'm sorry, in this live action anime, they just looked like very basic sort of robot suits. Like in the manga, they're way more creative with how they mix in their weapons and their style. Like they actually look like over the top robots, and it's way more fun that way. Especially because in that world they have, it's not like this sort of, what is that game they were playing? The
Motorball.
Yeah, it's not Motorball. In the actual anime and manga, they have it's like actually like a sort of fighting tournament, and so the cyborgs actually all look more dangerous and more well equipped for a battle.
And it's not like they couldn't have done that, right? Because they did CGI.
Yeah, I have no
basically
clue
the
why
whole
they.
thing.
Yeah, they must have just thought, we're gonna have so many fights, we want to sort of break up the monotony. But yeah. So some other things. The one thing I will compliment this film on compared to the anime and at least what I've seen with the manga, they do explore Alita's relationship with Yugo a lot more. In the anime, he sort of just like fixes a windmill in front of her, and she basically just falls in love with him.
That'd
and
do it
then,
for me.
And then like
Oh man, I love a man who can fix a windmill.
yeah, and like an episode later, he's like talking about running away, and then she's like, "No, I love you." So I did appreciate that, but even though I did appreciate that like attempt here, I did find a lot of their moments very, very cheesy.
Yes.
Especially at the end when he's like, oh, I love you, run away, don't let Zapan or the Centurions kill both of us, that sort of stuff. Especially at the end, like it's just. I guess comparing it to the manga and the anime, where it's like, okay, I can, like, this melodrama isn't as bad. I don't have like all these, like sad, solemn songs playing over top, and all these close-ups on the characters' faces. It just comes across as way more forced drama in this instance. What else? I've already said that I did like the setting itself. It is explored a bit more. The setting here is explored a bit more compared to the anime. That's because obviously, just like in the anime, they're trying to shorten down like at least like the first 2 volumes into 2 hours. What other things? There are a lot of plot points that were joined together. So this followed the OVA's take on the story as opposed to the manga, and they miss out a lot. So first of all, the story of Alita's independence, that's way more heavily...
Oh my God.
Sorry, I have a lot to say. The story of Alita's independence, there's way better fleshing out of it. So first of all, she's taking very slow steps to becoming independent. But here, she just has like one big...
She just runs out.
She has big bust up with Ida, and then immediately she's like talking shit to all these hunter warriors. And I know the idea was that she was sort of finding like her original mind or whatever, but it just came across as way too try hard, trying to have like overpowered, awesome, badass character. What else do I have? Well, I guess those are my few basic points. So I did enjoy it. One other thing, the action scenes, you guys said they were cool, but they were cool in a generic sense. I found them very over the top, and they fucking overused the Matrix shot so many what's his name? Gruchiska?
Gruishka.
Yeah, the one of the main monsters, when his grind cutters are going, they did so
He's not
many...
a monster, he's a human being.
Well, dude, that's another thing. So first of all, the action scenes over the top, so many Matrix moments where she's dodging and weaving all these attacks. Also, what's his name? Gruchiska?
Fucking hell, I'm not going to tell you anymore.
In the manga, his background is way more explored. He becomes a very tragic character.
I felt a little bit of that because he was
he hints at that
there.
where
He
says I was raised in this dump world, but you don't really. He was actually a child, and his mother abandoned him and flushed him down the toilet to the swamp, and he had to fight for scraps.
Whoa.
Don't laugh, you mafia monster.
Flushed him down the toilet.
He had to feed off of the stuff that's in the sewer, and every time he'd come up to the surface, people would just make fun of him, and that's how he basically came to learn, people are going to take advantage of me, I need to take advantage of them. And then when he came across Alita, in the original meeting, he totally destroys her, but she does sort of dismantle him. And what happens is he sort of falls in love with her because, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's basically he found someone, like, even though he became so powerful, he was able to fend for himself, he sort of like lost a human connection, because he still does have a human mind. And it was someone that made him into a cyborg that made him so powerful. And so when he comes across Alita, he has like a very sort of troubled, he basically falls in love with her. And the fight scene in the manga, there's so much like actual strategy to it. Like, he loses his arm and that affects his balance when he's trying to fight her. And because of all these chemicals that get flushed into the sewer, like Alita, she has to be careful of what moves she uses, because then like these chemicals will like start like a massive fire. There's just so much like strategy to it, which actually made me really like love the first volume of the manga. And that's what I'm going to say. Those are my takes on this. So I don't think it was a very faithful adaptation. I appreciate what they tried to do. I just think it fell short of the manga, at least from what I've read of it.
Okay. So if you hadn't actually, delved deep into,
I think I would have thought it was. I would have
side.
thought it was all right. I would have said like 6 out of 10, some fun action scenes. But knowing just how smart the actual mangaka was when they wrote it, I was just like, damn, this is just a bit of a disappointing rendition.
Interesting. Okay.
Would you guys like me to talk a bit longer?
No, I'd like to talk a little bit about the eyes, the large eyes.
That's a convenient excuse, isn't it?
What?
To say that the film was bad because
we know that he's the one that actually did the prior reading.
Yeah, exactly.
Very easy, because we wouldn't really we wouldn't know if you're lying at all about, like,
okay, guys, I'm a very smart
manga.
I'm a very smart
he spoke
improv
a lot.
But okay, guys,
so much.
If I was trying to improv, it'd be like, I feel like I'd struggle a bit to come up with these points. Like, I couldn't just bring these out of thin air. So, like, I appreciate that you guys thought that. But look, do I have to show my card to show you guys I'm not the mafia? I'll do it.
No, we've ruled that out.
Okay.
I think there is. It's disappointing in a sense that you probably would have liked the film more had you not read that stuff originally.
And even if you'd had then watched and read afterwards, you might have had an overall
well, that's the
better
thing
experience.
with the original anime. I only gave that, because that's only 2 30-minute episodes, I only gave that a 6 out of 10, and that was mostly because the goofiness, like the over-the-top battles and the world, it was explored just a bit more, and it didn't have the baggage of like just my disconnect with seeing like actual people in this world and it's coming across as cartoony. So even the original story, I mostly rated it more on the setting and the ideas as opposed to the actual character and story, because the character and story in the anime are nowhere near as good as the manga. Like it's pretty much the exact same story.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm saying the anime and live action, they're average, but the manga, from what I've read, like I'd say great.
Okay, Andrew, Lewis has just melted my brain in a little bit of a way.
Yeah.
You mentioned before that there was something about the faces in anime, and I've just forgotten all of that you said. Like why the faces were there.
Yeah.
And
Because they wanted to keep, Andrew said they wanted to keep the idea of that anime aesthetic.
okay, right. So
but
yeah,
they
and then,
only kept it for Alita.
That's right.
However, I did see that the
other
her
of her-
race of cyborgs
Exactly.
also had these large eyes, so that could be like
to clarify,
they need larger eyes.
they are humans who
Yes.
obviously were on a colony in Mars who developed superior technology, and they had that full body cybernetic replacement because those eyes are not their natural human connected
exactly.
to their brain
They're
eyes.
probably
There's a
jammed
fully
packed
cybernetic.
with X-ray vision and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and
so-
they're large and they're battle-oriented people. I think that's fine for them to have large eyes, but that's not a thing in the original.
No, everyone just looks like a normal anime character. Like everyone
Right.
has relatively big eyes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
one thing is when Hugo meets Alita, it's her hands and her weight that gives away that she's a cyborg, as opposed to her eyes. That's
You're
like
right,
the most
yeah.
obvious thing. He should have been like, "Oh, your eyes are fucking massive. You're a cyborg." So
Bro,
that's,
did you see that girl passing by? You check out the size
Yeah.
of her eyes.
so
Yes.
someone, I feel like in the world, like the characters
Right.
don't realize that. I think that's just something for us as the viewers to establish her as the main character.
And you would have thought that someone who had known a little bit about the whatever the Mars people that
Yeah.
she's of would be like, that one, holy shit.
Yeah.
That, that massive important war that we had
Over
with
300 years
over
ago.
300 years. But like, there are semi-immortal / semi-long-lived people in this world, and the powers that be would know the history of it. It's just sort of thing that it shouldn't have taken them this long to like sort of wise up to the fact that she's a threat.
Yeah.
Even though that they do eventually. But yeah, I that was kind of weird that no one acknowledged the eyes.
Yeah.
At all.
Yep. Like there were some other CGI characters who had like sort of like the Gruchesca or whatever.
Gruishka.
He did sort of had some CGI on like his head and his
Gilgamesh.
chin
Yeah,
to make it a bit
the
bigger.
actor of Gruishka is like, I've just seen a little profile of him. He's a very skinny dude.
Really?
So they've the massive amount of CGI on that guy. Yeah.
This is all the metal stuff, and he has some pretty cool weapons. They're like
chunky head.
claws, and yeah, he's a thick boy, but not in reality. It's amazing how film can do that sometimes.
Yeah.
I heard some complaints that the progression of Alita from a child to a woman was like a sexualized journey, and that
In what
that
sense?
people would had objected to this sexualization over the course of the film of a child. And I was cognizant of this when I went into the film and looking for it, and I honestly didn't see anything that
No, there's
could
like no
suggest that.
gratuitous shots.
No, absolutely not. And it makes sense for what she's doing, because she's an innocent, naive, doesn't know her history and all of that. She has, apparently, according to Ido, the scanned mind of a teenager, normal teenage girl, which I don't know how they're explaining, right? If she's a 300-year-old super race thing.
Yeah.
But over the course of the film, she matures.
Well, I think the
physically
idea
with
was
her
that she
body.
was like a teenager, like at the time she was fighting, but then she would have become a cyborg all the way back then
and
as
they just
well.
sort of held her.
Yeah, so like at the time she was
state.
originally fighting, she
Okay.
would have been like 15 or 16, and at that time she also became a cyborg, and she's just constantly been getting parts ever since then. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and
Maybe they'll explain that if they do a second film, because they really did
know
leave
they
it
will.
open, didn't
they really hinted at that.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that. I think it was a really good
Are
setup
you?
for
Mafia.
the. I'm a 6. Okay, 6 out of the.
yeah.
They did a good setup for the
Yeah.
for the film, because I actually thought they might really go to Zalem in the end in this film, and I was like, yeah, of course, no, they don't. No, good. They don't need to do that. That would just be, if they had done that, it would have just been packed into far too little time, and the resolution could have been far too easy.
Yeah.
That's not to say that they would have hinted at a sequel while up there, but I'm glad they kept it on the ground, pre-championship sort of thing.
That's another thing that the live action did better than the anime, because they actually introduced the character of Nova, who's meant to be the mastermind of everything up in Zalem. And in the anime, they just leave it on a cliffhanger where they follow the scene of Hugo, who's actually Hugo, of him trying to run up the thing and being destroyed. But then they sort of just end it there after he's killed and after Alita's sort of just, crying and, moping over him dying. They actually show,
Get over it.
no, that's not my point. But they actually do show like, there actually is something about Zalem, because in the anime they end it as if it's sort of like a mythical world where they don't actually do anything with it, because we know that a lot of the exports, like the majority of the exports, I think like 90%, they say in the manga, do go up to Zalem, so it is somehow feeding off of the factory, the iron factory world. But so they at least hint at more development for the world of Zalem in the live action.
Yeah. I quite liked that aesthetic. I'm interested to know whether that sort of floating city above the underworld, it feels like a very classic sort of archetype, right? But Elysium did that recently, and that was
The Forbidden Land,
the
that
forbidden,
sort of thing.
You can see
that is a
out
bit of
reach.
an archetype, a trope.
Totally. And I just wondered,
cool.
in terms of in popular culture, whether this was quite an early 1990 actually. This was an early sort of popular culture explanation or showing of this dichotomy. I'm not sure if it is, but if it was, it's pretty cool.
A modern example that sort of really reminded me of it was Hunger Games.
Right, yeah.
In that film, there's totally, it's dystopic.
Yeah.
But unlike in that film, the Iron City isn't like a huge dystopia.
No, it was functional.
It probably wasn't the best place to be. It had some crime, and there were people. No active police force.
Private militia, isn't that right?
It was,
they're all governed by the factory, which still puts out the bounties and pays them. So they were just like, we're not going to employ like vigilant, like what do you call it? Just enforcers. We're not going to employ law enforcement, but we are still going to like pay people for it. So it's not going to be publicly organized.
Yeah.
Only for capital offences, though. So it seems that other offences might just have to be worked out. But
it isn't just for, I at least know in the manga, they also do it for like crimes like stealing, because the idea
but if
is
that's
that,
a capital offence, then that would be, if you steal,
when
then
you were saying
you're
capital,
killed.
I thought you were just referring to
be pretty
murder itself.
dystopic.
So capital is in like, deserving of death, and those are the warrants that they give out. They don't give out warrants.
I think
for,
they still do bounties for like bringing in criminals, but I don't think you kill them.
Right.
Yeah, I think they still do it for like crimes, like because one big thing is in the manga they have it so you like stealing spines, because apparently the spine is the most difficult part to recreate artificially for a cyborg. So all cyborg spines are real human spines, so they become very valuable. And that's actually what Hugo and his guys like all focus on stealing, as opposed to actually killing the people to make their money. So I think he actually does get, because in the manga he doesn't commit any crimes, like any murders, but he does get his bounty because he's been stealing people's spines, which is still a crime itself. Yeah.
Stealing people.
And I actually think they do actually make that a murderable offense, because that is like a pretty big thing. Like
in this world,
that, yeah.
having your spine stolen is pretty bad,
Yeah.
as it would in reality.
Oh, you know what's also funny? The cyborgs, they have to feed off of human brains, because being cyborgs, they it's like some in-world bullshit, like maybe based in some science. It's like,
Thank God.
because
based in science,
because they
eating
don't have
brains.
some human
they
parts.
could get prion disease.
Because they don't have some human parts, they are missing like endorphins, so they get like a drug rush, and it's played up as them being junkies from like slurping brains and getting an endorphin rush.
Because it's
Personally-
very difficult to make hormones rather than fucking eating brains.
But that's just how they do it. Yes, they get an endorphin rush from like killing people and slurping their brains up.
God.
Bruh.
Yeah.
I'm really glad they didn't
Man,
carry
I
that
wish
over.
I lived there.
God, I wish that were me.
One part that kind of confused me was when Shirin, the ex-wife of Ido, who
Also
has
a robotic scientist.
yes, who has a change of heart and partially saves somewhat of the day.
Yeah.
But she is taken apart in a really horrific way.
That was
She ends up
horrible.
in a case. Her brain, she's all totally connected, but she's just partitioned and put away in a case with all the valuable organs and her hands.
Yeah.
And Alita knows this because it was shown to her by
Yeah.
Victor, and then she has some breathing room. Like, okay, I've dealt with
Gruishka.
I've dealt with Gruishka. I've dealt with Victor. I need to go kill the blue-eyed guy. Maybe I should rush off and do all of that instead of picking up the case with my my father / creator's
Yeah.
ex-wife's
Well,
remains,
at that
who
point-
literally saved
My life just-
my love
just
and my
1
life
hour ago.
Maybe I should give that to the doctor who can do something with it.
I don't think so. At that point, all the organs have been like, there's no body connecting them. Like that's what they also do with Hugo, because he was stabbed through the stomach, but he
Yeah.
could still be put back together because there's like some,
But
like
all
his
of her,
torso
all
is still
of the
there.
important organs, she was alive in
Yeah,
that
but I
case.
don't-
They
but I
showed
don't
her
think-
eyes moving.
Yeah,
But I don't think you get like that level of consciousness
No,
back.
No, she was there.
It was totally supposed to imply
Yeah.
that she was alive and still conscious.
Absolutely.
That's totally what it was.
I
Because,
don't think
because
so.
the people up there are collecting brains. They're interested in her brain.
But that's to build like an entirely like they don't use the brains. The brains are like the cyborgs
No.
all keep
She was
their
still
brains.
alive.
Yeah, she was still alive.
Absolutely.
They would have
100%.
probably enslaved her in some sort, or just used
Yeah.
her parts to do other things with. But
I think I'd just take the real life scenario where like if I take your brain and your heart and put it in someone else, like I think that's where you like reflect back on reality and say this isn't going to create someone else. This like maybe you could use these body parts for someone else, but you're not going to get that same person with their consciousness back.
in that case, she was intact and conscious based on the movement of the eyes. And the comment that's like, we do send them up.
Yeah.
You know, they go up.
But they only go up in parts, stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think that there should have been an effort at least. Alita should have gone like, even if she didn't know that it was impossible, she should have gone like, oh my god, I owe something to this person.
Mm-hmm.
I should take them to Edo to
well, at
see
that
what
point,
he can do.
at that point,
Sorry, I just
that
hit
was,
the mic stand. That was
well, don't do that.
yikes.
At that point, even if I accept your reasoning, which I don't, if she wanted to do that, that was when Edo called her and was like, Yugo's gone insane, he's trying to claim the thing. So obviously, like, we've built up the entire film that she loves this kid, so it makes way more sense that she'd run after him because he's playing himself.
Was that?
Yep,
that
it was
at
right
the time?
then. Yep.
Maybe something happened in the 4 months' time that happened.
Okay, yeah.
After
so right,
Hugo
there was
died.
after Hugo dies. There's a jump forward.
Yeah.
I just think they would have dealt with it. They would have done something.
Yeah, I really
But
hope
perhaps
they dealt with it.
In the sequel, I would
Yeah.
not be surprised, as you say, if we see Sharon.
Also, in
a really cybernetic
Oh,
form,
yeah.
because we only saw her brain,
And
her
her hands.
eyes, and her hands.
I think you may see her, but I don't think it's going to be her same consciousness. I think they'll like recreate someone around her.
Oh man, this is like the ship of Theseus all over again.
Also, that scene where she just happens to be in that random building, where they like,
In the church.
where they transport part of Alita's like well-being or whatever you want to call it, like blood into Hugo to sort of stabilize him. They do that better in the anime because they're already at Vector's place. Because obviously
with
Hugo,
equipment and stuff.
Yeah,
well,
like-
what happens is Hugo, he's already at Vector's place, and Alita finds him there because she finds out that he's a criminal who's been stealing body parts, and she's going to like bring him in, and that's in the anime, that's where they have their whole, well, I love you, and that's where they sort of come together. And Sharon, she's like, listening to them because, she's at Vector's place, she just happens to be there, and she hears Hugo go on about how he was raised by his brother and his brother's wife, and how his brother went crazy trying to get to Salem, and how that sort of ruined the love that his brother's wife had for the brother. And she's listening to that, and it sort of reminds her, that's like the trigger that reminds her of the love she had for Edo, and that's the reason why she ends up helping Hugo after
rather than turning them into Vector.
Yeah, because there's at least a bit, like, it's forced at the time because like, I'm just, Hugo just so happens to give this long lengthy sympathy story, and that ends up triggering Sharon to be like, oh, okay, I feel bad for you, and I also have had a similar love. So I thought that was at least better explored there than here, where she just happens to see two people like all this other time. She was so willing to make this big monster that's going to go and kill him and her daughter, who she just had that one moment, and she just happens to be in this random building. So it was better explored there. Also, just in general, I don't like the idea of having Sharon, be all evil, and then she has like, just as she has her change of heart, then she's killed off scene, because she was like a relatively big character in the thing. But that also happened in the anime, so also an issue there.
Well, shit.
Yep.
I
Maybe
don't
we
hear
should-
any more talk about the anime. All right.
Okay.
That is. Ooh. But I had a point that I really wanted to discuss.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Something that I really wanted to compare this film to, and what helped me reach the rating of 7.25 is the fact that it's better than most superhero films, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I was basically comparing it to, what did I think of Iron Man? What did I think of the Avengers? That sort of thing, because they're very similar.
Yeah.
It was an action film that had a lot of lore in the background that had
Some cheesy quips.
Yep, some cheesy
Oh,
quips.
dude, I hated those one-liners like "I'm gonna kill you." That's the sort of shit where I'm like, this anime shit and real life shit just doesn't work.
But I essentially liked this film a lot more than most of those superhero films, which I would rate around 5.5 to 6. I liked it considerably more than those films, and because it took its time with development, there was more of a story than you would expect in, these more superhero type films. And the action was, in my mind, just as good as the action we see in the Avengers, for example. I really appreciated the fight scenes, and I really liked the motorball scene. Even though I can understand that some people would think that's kind of cheesy and stuff, but I don't know. I thought there was a lot to appreciate about those scenes. I really liked the drama when she's lined up on the starting line, and there's 12 people around her, and she's just learning from Ito. Ito's like, "You've got to get out of there. They're trying to kill you." And she's like, "Who's trying to kill me?" And she looks around and like looks at two people who are glaring at her, and then he's like, "They're all trying to kill you," and that was pretty dramatic.
I found that cheesy as hell.
And then she was
Fuck
like,
you,
I thought the
Lewis.
directing was way too she looks at two of them who are trying to kill me. Cut back,
Dude.
They're all, and then it shows all of
If
them.
I had
giving her the
edited
glare.
that,
just felt really cheesy.
If I had edited that shot, it would have been even more disliked
Look,
by
if you edited that, I would have said it was good because you're my friend, and I would have.
She should have had a final line or something that was like, thanks for the heads up. Like just saying. Oh, but she was cool.
That would have
and calm.
changed.
Yeah.
That would have made the film an 8 out
No,
of 10.
I was
to be honest.
in my head. She goes, "Thanks for the heads up."
Yeah, maybe that's where that idea should stay.
No, it was cool because her expression totally changed. She was like, "This is an opportunity to look good." And she wanted to look good because she was trying to raise money at this point, and she wanted to show that she was actually a threat. She was a big deal.
She's a real athlete.
Yeah. So, it was less about that. It was less about winning, more about proving her point that she was dangerous. That's what I thought of that moment. But it was cool, and the whole chase scene was crazy. I thought it was wild.
I mean, I found it sort of generic. One thing about Zapan.
How was it generic?
I just didn't find it that interesting.
It's totally
like maybe
different
in
to any other action
in
scene that I had
setting,
seen.
in the pure setting itself, it was because I can't remember an exact chase scene where they go from like a motorball thing to running through the streets and around a church. I'll give you that, but just in the sense of these henchmen going after the main character outsmarts them, manages to kill them, then one of the big bad guys, Zapan, comes along. Like that itself just felt sort of generic to me. Plus, my issue with Zapan is he's played off as a bit of a joke in this. In the I'm sorry I keep doing this, but in the anime, he was a badass. He's like an onlooker who keeps going after these kills, but Alita and Ito, they actually keep beating him to it. And so you always see him, and you're like, in the background, you're like, what is this guy? What's his alignment? And to be fair, in the anime, he is also very quickly killed off, but he's just kept as like an unknown. And that time that he's kept as an unknown, it's way more tense watching him. And here he was played off as a joke. Like he's immediately embarrassed by Alita. Like he's trying to be cool. And that was like, that just relates back to me sort of being annoyed with her independence being really forced down our throats, where she makes everyone else look like a joke.
I wanted to talk about that scene because that was the scene that I most disliked about in the whole film. The fight was cool. I liked the fight. That was sweet. The
Are you
action
going to talk
was
about
sweet.
the cheesy trying to drill up the support?
Yes, that was.
But in that defense,
I didn't
then,
understand.
why she would go there and actually think that worked.
Before you defend it, let me just.
And I can give the anime explanation after.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Alita has just received her pass from the city to become a hunter warrior, which is the bounty hunter. She's now a bounty hunter.
And she's been denied her battle suit at this point too.
That's right. She's found the amazing suit, but
a berserker suit.
But Ito won't put her in it because it's a warrior thing, and he doesn't want her fighting.
Yeah.
So she wanders down to the hardened bar.
Called Kansas.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
I was thinking that, Andrew.
But we are.
No. That made it funny.
Lewis is writing something down. Don't let Asher on the mic again.
You're distracting me. I'm trying to remember my points now.
Right. So she's walking into Kansas, this hardened bar. She's in her trench coat. Hugo's with her. She's looking cool in a sense. And she wanders down and she's like, "Hey, I'm new here," essentially. And then she tries to drum up support for the taking down of Gruishka, who is a bounty hunter himself, but slightly outside of the rules of everyone else. And he's not hugely popular because he's chosen from above and he's also a brute, that sort of thing.
Wait, what do you mean he's chosen from above?
He was
The overlord,
Victor's chosen.
Victor. No, Victor's boss. What's his name?
No. What happened was he killed, wasn't it that Gruishka, he killed the champion and he stole his grind cutters?
That is also what happened.
Yeah.
But he was protected because he had a task.
Yeah,
right,
but
to
he
execute.
but he wasn't Victor's top guy. That was the champion. But once he took his champion's own weapon, he became it. Because remember when
Listen,
Victor first came to him, he's
yeah.
like, "Why are you bothering to help this
That
chunk
was
of
a
garbage?"
pointless thing.
I'm just
that
saying
was
he wasn't-
basically right. You just added
It was just you were giving
unnecessary
you were just giving the
stuff.
background. I was just saying no, he wasn't like the top guy. He like sort of stole that position, so he wasn't someone who always had this position.
Okay, but he had a privileged position which he did not deserve. He ought to have had a bounty on his head.
He fought for it. He earned it.
He ought to have had a bounty on his head,
All right,
but he didn't.
Listen
He was
here,
protected.
you little idiots. While I continue to talk. So
talking to you,
see,
Asher.
I said, but all right, nothing. Hey guys, welcome back. So essentially, she wanders into this bar with Hugo and she starts picking a fight with everyone there for the purpose of ideally getting people to unite with her to take down Gruishka and Victor. And I did not see how this ever could have hoped to have worked.
Well,
I
it didn't
had
work,
no
Andrew.
idea what she was trying to do. If she was trying to prove her power and her capacity, it was a good way, sure, but it wasn't necessary for her to do that. She could have just continued living her life tracking down bounties when she could, that sort of thing. And I was wondering why she wanted to draw attention to Gruishka and the corrupt regime that they live in, because it's likely that they are also somewhat corrupt because they're being paid by the corrupt regime.
So-
It was very bizarre. I didn't understand why she did that, what
I can
the point
speak
of
to
the
that.
scene
No,
was.
no. I would.
But
Fuck
no,
off,
Asher,
you don't have the backstory, so it would just
I
be
don't care about
mindless.
the
no,
backstory.
Asher was going to defend
Yeah,
the scene.
so I think
anyway.
that shows her naivety, one, and also she failed to drum up
She
support.
knew she was going to fail.
Did you? Is that
I'm certain she knew she was going to fail. That's why she was so antagonistic. She got up on the table. She was like,
Oh, I think
and
she
if
was-
you lily-livered milk drinkers want to
Quote.
no, true quote.
She also said, "If I beat you, you have to join me."
Yeah.
she
Yeah,
made
yeah.
that a thing.
I
But no one
agree with-
agreed to that.
I
They just
fa-
started fighting.
Sure, I found that scene kind of cringy because it's like, no, this isn't going to work. And it didn't work. And she got her ass beat by herself, except for the one guy who liked dogs, and Gruishka made the mistake of killing a dog. Like, so they didn't come to her defense, and she was, dragged through the mud. She had to have that really low point before she was elevated to her proper suit, battle suit readiness.
She knew she was going to fail.
I don't think she
I
did.
don't know
I think
why she did it.
she was naive. She didn't have her head on, straight. She was still adjusting,
Cyborg with a head on.
right?
Yeah.
But she was a naive, and she made a mistake.
She gave a big speech,
Yeah, a
about
cringy speech.
and it was like pretty
You're
bad.
you're the heroes of the city. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
these people don't really think they're the heroes of the city.
I was,
Yeah.
I was
Lady.
feeling pretty bad, and the crowd in the film reacted appropriately to that.
What do you mean? Like the four people in the cinema behind us?
No, you idiot! In the story,
in the bar,
in the bar.
Carry
you
on,
fucking
guys.
guys.
crowd in the film. Was that not clear enough?
Yeah, the four people behind us were like, "Whoa!"
Oh, that was crazy. They were like, oh boy, that was so cringy. They shouted it out. No, that didn't happen. What happened was she gave the speech. It was like, you're the heroes of the city and it's beautiful. Let's fight Gruishka. And Zapan, this is where we first hear him speak, that sort of thing. He was like, ha, 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 in his slightly Irish voice.
It was just straight up like English, wasn't it?
Fuck you,
Asher, what the hell what accent do you think he had?
What accent?
He was just kind of British. Yeah, I don't really know.
Well, why'd you say "fuck you" then? Obviously,
Well, because it's irrelevant.
No,
Oh, this is a very important
It was
plot
really
point.
important because I quite liked his voice.
yeah, it was nice.
Yeah,
it was
I-
nice and soothing.
I missed that. I to take your point away from you and throw it away and just
Sure.
do my own
I mean,
thing.
it's story of my life now.
Oh, that's
Yep.
cool.
Take my points.
I really wanted maybe, and this would have to undermine the source material, But I thought Zapan
You can't do that.
would have been a redeemable character, like someone who like has a is a hard lad who who does just follow the bounties, right?
In
And is
anime, when
ruthless
they
in
have a
that
cool
way.
character, they usually end up being good by the end of it because it's like we need to sell this guy on like merch. So they
right,
usually
like
do that.
right,
Yeah.
like, and he's great aesthetic. I think he was capable.
I
and a
liked
bit
his back.
shocking. Yeah, that was so
His
cool.
back was like Incan Mayan sort
Yeah.
of designs. It looked really cool.
But I kind of like how he was just mutilated, right? His face was sliced quite grotesquely. So of course he's not dead. He might have a change of this. I really hope to see him in the sequel, fighting alongside
I think he'll
Alita.
still be evil,
Oh, damn it!
Oh, it could be like finally in the hour of the need, her naivety wins the day, and he remembers the speech, and he remembers that. Yeah, I could see a case of.
I don't know
both,
about the speech,
yeah.
but like just that he, he was, even though he sliced the fuck out of that kid.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't
Tanji
rip
just
slice.
got-
What's
by
it?
the
What's
way.
the It's not a slice because it's thrust.
No. So Tanji got sliced in
Oh,
half.
Tanji. Right.
Yeah.
Actually,
Tanji was destroyed.
Tanji got sliced, and that was very important.
Sorry, I thought you were talking
It's
about
very
Yuga.
important to
A
know.
general
I thought we
thing
were talking
about
about
this
Yuga.
film,
Okay,
which
because
I was
it's completely different. To have to know that he
Yeah.
was sliced as opposed to stabbed.
Thank you for that,
Thanks,
Andrew.
Lewis. Yeah.
Thank
Damn,
you.
you put me on my place. Let me know when I can talk
you
again.
know.
I got a few things thrown over.
we'll
The
let you know.
brutality of this film, sort of just to go away, the brutality of this film, I was really surprised by, especially when Alita nails her first, mark by pummeling his face in.
Yeah.
And then also the second one,
Just
who
kicks her head into
kicks
the
her
brick
head
wall.
into the, no, it was a metal wall, which,
Shut up, Asher.
basically
It was-
beheads her. He beheads her she
It was
beheads her.
actually a garage door, guys. You realise that?
It was actually
so
another
sorry.
cyborg.
It was actually no. I was going to say the actor's name, but I can't remember it. It was on the cast list, but I really liked how brutal this film was. Like, they didn't really shy away from any of the deaths. It was not a children's film. It was arguably not a teenager's film either. Like, there were visceral beheadings.
I liked
and
that
stuff.
fight. I liked that fight scene.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, Lewis isn't going to like this fight scene because it's overly dramatic.
It's a little bit.
I didn't hate it, but I was like, oh, this is fun. But I'm just like, this is.
I thought it was
middling.
cool because the design of the woman cyborg who Alita starts to fight, she's like real crazy. She's got
Yeah.
full blade arms that are bent over like she's a praying mantis,
Yeah.
or a spider a little bit.
Yeah.
And that really reminded me of another fight scene from Kingsman.
Yes. The lady with the
which
blade feet.
I love that scene.
Is this Kingsman 1 or
And
2?
The first one.
Oh,
yeah.
No,
one.
the first one.
Oh, yeah. With this,
I didn't like the second one.
The
so-
the Blade Runner woman.
Yeah.
That fight scene was so cool. And it really reminded
the
me
opening sort of
that.
fight scene.
No, the one at the end where
yeah.
she has poisoned him and he's struggling. He's like struggling to get through the rest of the fight because
Yeah.
she's poisoned him.
Yeah.
But we're not reviewing Kingsman. We're reviewing Alita.
And we never will.
If I can just jump in here quickly, if I can get a
Sure.
word in
Yeah,
edgewise.
that's the theme.
Jesus, you guys have been keeping me out all episode long. First of all, a good one from me. 10 minutes ago with your conversation about, was Alita being naive or confident?
Yeah,
I do
in
have
the
to
bar.
side on Ash's side. I do agree. In this story, she was trying to be, she was just being naive. This relates back to my issue of her independence being really heavily shoehorned here. And I'm going to do it. I'm just going to get over it. In the manga, what happens is Edo, he is the one, like, first of all, Edo and Alita, they have already faced Gruishka at this point.
Gruishka.
And she has already lost her arm in his eye. And she has already been destroyed, but she managed to she managed to separate his body from his head, and that's when, as his head, he manages to go and find the champion fighter, and he steals his body, and that's how he gets the Grind Cutter in the original story. So at this point, Edo, he has actually already had the suit. He's had the suit for a long, long time. When he, like they mention it in the story, they say, oh yeah, scavengers have come to the ship before, but no one's been able to get in, that sort of thing. In the story, he's already had the suit. He's had it for years, and he's like, this suit is too dangerous. I can't ever give this to someone. But after this first fight where Alita is totally destroyed by Gruishka, and he's
Gruishka.
fucking Gru. She's lost. She's like she's shoved.
from Despicable Me.
No, isn't that the name for the guy from Mortal Kombat? Gru.
No, Gru is
I
also
am Groot.
Gru is
that's what I'm
also the
thinking of, I think.
Despicable Me guy. You know, the
Okay.
villain who hires I mean, adopts.
Well, I'm going to call him
Three.
Gru, just for the sake of
All right.
simplicity.
And
Nice.
listeners,
She's-
this is the official low point of the entire podcast
She just has
series.
the beat when we spoke about Asher, though, for too long.
When was this?
Last week.
I don't remember that.
I'm glad I don't.
Our listeners will remember it.
Okay. Anyways, look, if you guys stop interrupting me, I'll get this over quickly. She's already lost her arm in his eye, and that's sort of like, she was totally destroyed. Her body was already cut up, but she got that one little, like, final little, there's like a little bit of like success she's had.
Yeah.
And after seeing that, it's way more powerful because Edo, he's like, I love you so much. I never want you to fight, but in this awful world we live in, you are going to run into these sort of people. And that's why he very,
I'm not helping
he's
you
like
out.
unwilling. Well, you're always terrible with suggesting words. You always say, like, what's a word for fast? Oh, Groot. You always say that sort of shit. So he very reluctantly, that's that beautiful
Well
word.
done.
He reluctantly is like, damn, I don't want to give you this berserker suit because I don't want you to get involved with fighting. But if you don't fight, then you're probably going to end up getting killed. So he very reluctantly gives her the
Are you
suit.
saying the anime did that?
Yeah, the manga.
Actually
No, the manga
explains the
did that.
emotion and the film didn't.
Yes, I'm just saying it's a bit more fleshing out of Alita failing and then having the suit. It's not just
I totally got that from the film.
well, it's a totally different story.
Totally got
I'm also
that.
relating
I
that
was
to
like,
the independent.
obviously he doesn't want to give this to her, but he's got really no other choice.
Yeah.
Because
But
first
it's
of
more-
all, this is an awesome body. Why not use it? But he realizes at that point, oh gosh, I don't want her to get as hurt like
My
this
point
again.
is, this relates because after
it
he's
made
like,
sense.
if you will let me explain, at this point he's like, okay, even though I never want you to fight, I have to allow you to do. And then they both go to the bar, and it is Edo himself. He knows all these people. They're not like friends, but they get along. They're all like, oh, hey, Edo, it's good to see you. He gets along with all these people, and he's like, now guys, this is Alita. She's new. I've just taken her in. She's a new hunter warrior. We need to band together. And he has reason to give this speech because he knows these people. He's been working as a hunter warrior alongside them.
He fixes them.
He
for
fixes them,
free.
yeah.
And he helps them out, just like you said. And he's like, we need to band together. And he sort of gives a sort of similarly cringy speech, but he has more reason
But
to
it's
do it
backed up,
because he has
yeah.
reputation. And then if no one laughs at him, they just sort of shuffle away. And that's important because when they laugh in the movie, they just come across as dicks. But when you see in the manga, they're all these badass, killers and assassins, and they themselves are afraid to go after Gruchiska, it's like, fuck it, shut up, shut the fuck up.
His name is Gilgamesh.
When they go after Gilgamesh, the fact that they're all like, oh, we don't want to do this, they sort of shuffle away, that puts him over as being this massive threat. And then Alita, she's all like, oh, like they purposely make her come off as like whiny and like scared. She's like, oh, come on, Edo's helped you guys out so much, as opposed to being like, all right, you landlubbers, we're going to go to the seven
You
seas.
cheeky landlubbers.
You swashbuckling pirates.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just relates back to what I said. They forced her to being like this, super mega overpowered woman way too heavily, and in the manga it was just way better done. They do it incrementally, and then you really come to align with her story, and especially Edo, who cares about her so much, he has to push her to the one thing he never wanted in order to achieve his ultimate goal of her safety. Now, we've been going for 51 minutes. Of those minutes, I've been talking for only 1 minute. So I have a few. No.
I don't have that much to say, but I just wanted you guys. Did you notice the who Zapan?
Her big eyes?
Yeah.
Wow, I
Exactly.
saw
Her
that.
eyes were so big.
Did you see her big eyeballs?
Yeah, she had huge eyes, and they were brown eyes.
The cyborg who Hugo's mate Tanji and and his assistant were like cutting up at the time that Hugo interrupts and goes, "Hey, stop!"
That guy.
Was the person who murdered the original Alita, the daughter of Edo. That was the same character who we saw in that flashback, who Zapan like kills,
I
right?
totally missed that.
No,
I
it was.
missed that.
I really think it was the same guy, a bit
could
more
see it.
grizzled.
If they
Yeah.
did that, that's a big issue that Andrew and I did not pick that up. They should have made a big deal of that.
Well,
That's
I
a
think
big thing.
I think it's
I
kind
think
of
it was supposed to be understated then.
because it's like Zapan unwittingly delivered justice.
Yeah.
Right? When he's like framing Hugo for this, this innocent person you've murdered. It's like, no, that guy
Have
of
you-
all of the
have
people
you
in this film
confirmed?
we want to see dead.
Have you
It's that
confirmed?
guy. I haven't confirmed it.
Okay.
But it really did look like him. He had that red stuff going on, and he was grizzled. Like, it looked a little bit older than that character.
Okay, I'll maybe check an image or something. to
And,
see.
and because he was confirmed alive, because Edo would have said either I killed him
Yeah.
or unfortunately someone else got to kill him.
someone else.
He never got to kill that guy.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
I guess like you guys are sort of implying that you think that's going to, if they do a sequel, that's sort of like the little hint that he will become sort of like an anti-hero.
Zapan that could actually sort of see that, the time that I tried to frame Hugo, I actually kind of avenged Alita. Oh,
Yeah,
weird.
I can
Sorry,
totally
yeah.
I can totally see that. I feel like if they were going to go that angle, I would have liked his final appearance in this film to be a bit more on a positive note. Because the last time we see him is him
Holding
weeping.
his face.
Yeah, because I didn't like that because it's meant to be an insult where Alita says, "Oh, you'll mess up your pretty face," and
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh no, he just happens to be pretty." But then it's like, "Oh, my beautiful face has been cut up." That sort of makes him look really weak and superficial. Where it's like, "Oh, he really did just care about looks." I feel like they would have left him on a more positive note if they were going to bring him back as a hero.
No,
but I could totally imagine them still doing that.
He still betrayed, not betrayed, but he was still a dick and whatnot. I actually was kind of disappointed that she maimed him in such a way. I think that was kind of brutal and horrible.
You know what's
horrible.
hilarious?
What?
In the anime, he dies by lightning. There just happens to be a storm overhead, and Alita, he attacks her with his
And
sword.
she redirects the lightning.
She deflects it with her arms, making like an X or something,
What?
and then she's waiting. She's looking overhead. She sees the lightning, and she throws up his arms or her arms or something, and the lightning comes down and electrocutes him, and he dies like that.
I'm so
it was
glad
so
that
forced.
didn't happen.
It was quite bad.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's immediately after he kills Yugo as well. Well, slices him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stinks him.
So
Wow.
look, this has been a long one, mostly because you guys have been talking so much. I love that's a good one. Should we start speculation on who we think is the dirty mafia?
We can, or I can just talk about one more thing really quickly.
Okay, mafia, go ahead.
I'm not the mafia though.
My bad. Apologies.
Showed you, didn't he?
I'll send my regards to the chef.
The one thing that I thought was funny was how it was revealed early in the movie that Ido was one of these bounty hunters.
Right.
And I just thought that was funny because he was a full human.
Yeah.
Taking down
right, yeah.
dangerous
he had-
cyborgs
he
with
had a
this
rocket hammer.
unwieldy hammer. And his tactics were fine. I mean, because he was a human, he had to he assembled this hammer powered by rockets because his strength wasn't enough.
That's straight
and
out of Fallout.
And he'd hide behind some, corners and stuff.
Hmm.
But then, obviously he did that when he was younger. When he was younger and probably stronger, he would have had more chance to
I think
bring
it's
these
just kind of
people
ridiculous
down.
that he's had a long career of this with that unwieldy
exactly.
thing.
Like, how old was he supposed to be? Late 50s? Early 60s?
Probably about 50 or so. Yeah, 50.
Like,
He had no augmentation that we know of.
I don't think at least from what I've read, he doesn't end up being revealed to be a cyborg. I think he's just a straight up cyborg doctor.
no, he's full human, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny to see he was like, yeah, I'm a hunter warrior. And he takes down badass robots.
Well,
That's
I
probably the
don't
most
think-
anime thing in this film was his ridiculous
The
weapon.
hammer.
The
I was
oversized
like,
weapon
that's
is
funny.
a classic. I
That's
don't
funny.
think the idea was that he's always been a hunter warrior because I think we know that he used to be a cybernetic doctor up on Zalem, and it's
Yeah.
not revealed why he leaves. And then he says he had to become a hunter warrior because
after Alita died.
Yeah,
no. It
after
was,
his,
it was specifically
Alita.
because the shop wasn't bringing in enough money. Because we all know that most of the stuff that's produced in the factory ends up going to Zalem, so that means he's
So
not able
it-
to sell a lot of his own
It
produce.
wasn't a retribution thing initially.
No, it is played off as a retribution thing,
Yeah,
but I don't think the idea is that he was always.
But he also takes the money because he fixes everyone for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is played up that he sort of takes his anger out on people because of what happened to his daughter. So he's
Yeah.
like, these criminals need to be destroyed. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, Lewis, you strike me as the mafia, so
Why, dude? You realize you always fucking do this, and I'm never the mafia. I have never been the mafia,
Well,
and I'm not the mafia again. Why do you think I'm the mafia?
well, one, the system has no memory, so it's irrelevant that you haven't been the mafia. But
You must not have any memory either.
oh fuck, man, I just
And
got
how,
owned.
and how
Andrew.
fitting is that? How fitting is that? This is a cyberpunk film with robots, and you have no memory.
Random access memory. Okay.
Random
Lewis,
access? You mean
RAM memory.
read only memory?
God damn it.
ROM?
This is the highlight.
Can you
of
get
it.
to
Hell yeah.
Can you get to your
I would like
accusation?
to.
Yeah, get to your accusation.
I think
Mafia.
as we talked about before, that it's quite easy to have this, a fallback onto the anime that it didn't live up to expectations, or that decisions that it made weren't.
I understand, but
this and that.
there have been so many points I
hey.
point. Hey, I'm allowed to defend myself.
Prosecutor speaking first.
Yeah, I think that you've
Even
got,
if he is
Well, let me
Mafia.
make notes while he's attacking me.
Even if he is Mafia, Lewis.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
it's just I think
ahead.
that you might have actually enjoyed this film more than you're saying.
Like at least a 7 or something.
Yeah, like us. Like I
Okay.
think we enjoyed it pretty much. Actually, we're only 0.5 difference. There's a bit more difference between you and I. But
Wait, what did you rate this?
6.
Well, you said a 0.5 difference.
You've got 5.5?
I've got 5.
Oh, 5. Okay, well, whatever.
Well,
yeah.
you're definitely Mafia, Lewis.
7.25.
7.25. Sorry. Oh, well, it's irrelevant. Then,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
difference.
exactly.
You're either side of me. And I think that you would come up with us when you reveal your, true opinions. I think that you enjoyed it. I think you'll be able to sort of stay as a standalone thing. I don't think your enjoyment of this film depends too much on your anime background.
That's
and manga.
funny, Asher, because I think that you enjoyed this film more than you're leading on. But I'm sure Lewis wants to defend himself first.
Yes. I can totally understand being like, oh, like, okay, it is an easy fallback to say, oh, well, this doesn't compare to the source material, but that's a better impression of what he sounded like. But I think I pointed out so many like excruciating, like detailed moments where there was a difference, and I think I explained my reasoning well. Where I was like, this didn't explore Alita's independence; it was really forced.
Sure.
This didn't show the tragic background
But
of Ido. This didn't show the tragic background of
it's
this
something
character.
that Andrew and I don't have knowledge of, and you could have if you had, if you had bothered, and I think you did.
Well, I clearly did, yeah.
To actually make some things up for the sake of comparing it.
There were maybe a few things that I skipped over because I couldn't remember the exacts. I would have been like, oh, I can't remember when Ido got the suit, but I like my general points were correct. Like you'd maybe be able to get me on like a few numbers or dates, but that's literally it. Like, would you like go ahead and ask me a question about the original story and see how quickly I can respond?
What's the name of the character who starts with G?
Who starts with G?
Yes, the big robot boy. Without looking at your notes.
Well, I've already looked at him.
Okay, go on.
what's his
Can you
name?
remember it?
Gruishka.
Oh, wow. He says it right the first
I
time.
guess he isn't the
Gruishka.
mafia then,
Yeah,
is he?
well, it's
No.
only-
But I do think he
like
is.
go ahead, ask me like one big question that you think to be like,
It's
because
irrelevant.
your idea is
Okay.
that I haven't actually read the source
No,
material.
I think you have read it.
Okay.
Right.
I think he has.
I believe he has.
Yeah,
I
I've
believe
gone
you've
into
seen the
painful
OVA.
autistic detail about this.
It was quite painful, and I
And
think
quite
that
autistic.
there was room there for you to accentuate some differences.
It is dodging room. Absolutely.
Well, would you guys like me to talk about the things that I did like? Like, would that sort of balance it out?
Bro, you've just
Not
got to
really.
relax. You're being too defensive.
Well, I'm always
Alright?
defensive.
It's not a personal attack. We're playing Cinemafia.
I think you guys just... Is this about earlier, Andrew, when I didn't give you popcorn?
Everyone's trying to play the game. All right? You're taking it too seriously.
How do you think cyborgs have sex? Also, Sharon didn't preserve any gametes when she beheaded Hugo, just recklessly like that.
Wait,
that's a
Sharon,
lawsuit.
when she beheaded Hugo.
Yeah, to save his life, but like she should have like at least castrated him too and put those on ice.
At
In the,
least.
That
in
would
the
have been
anime,
nice.
in the
At
anime, she
least.
gives her life force to him. No, she
Wow.
gives Alita's life
he's
force.
just
through him
making
to
it
her.
up. He's just making
No,
it
no,
up.
she literally, the idea is that it was Alita that like helps him and like revives him, but then it's like, oh no, Sharon did that. She took something from Alita to give it to him. So she was the one who like did the operation, but it was taken from Alita.
Okay, but she could have kept some
You can,
sperm.
surely you can imagine, okay.
Right?
That's not.
That should have been.
You're right.
Dude,
He's
surely-
right.
surely you can imagine-
Lewis, he's right.
Yeah, and you're the mafia because of it.
Surely you can imagine me still genuinely thinking, okay, this does not live up to the exploration of the world or the development of the characters from the original source material, and just thinking like, okay, maybe it's my fault for checking out the source material to compare it to, but still thinking at the end of the day, this is an unfaithful adaptation that I don't think lives up to it. Like it's still fine. Why are you using that voice to make fun of
I
me
mean,
now?
it's just because you say that a lot, and I
Lewis,
think it's funny.
who do you think is the mafia?
Well, to be honest, I think it's Andrew.
Why?
Because I think he knows that I am because I think he's a mafia because he's sort of been positioning against you. Like he's been getting on my nerves, but he's also been sort of signaling like a little things, like sometimes as jokes, sometimes as genuine, sort of being like, oh, Asher, you're being annoying. He's the mafia, ha ha ha, that sort of thing.
Is this all behind my back?
No, dude, you're just missing the
Lewis,
nuance.
I've got to convince you why it's Asher.
Okay. Yes, you have to, because I think you're trying, like lately I think you've been trying a bit too hard, like these last few days, last 10 minutes, I think you've been trying a bit too hard to be like, it's him, and you were like, oh, Lois, you go ahead and defend yourself and, make that little voice you used. That was the first thing that tipped me off.
Okay, I was doing that just because I thought I was guaranteed safe as villager, so I was acting like a little
Nah,
smug and stuff. I didn't realize that I was under genuine suspicion
I generally,
from Lewis.
well, the one thing that gave it away is because I think this, like the action scene scenes. They were fun. I thought they were fun, but I don't think you would have thought they were like fun. You know, like to me, it's like, you know, yeah, the action scenes were fine. 5 out of 10. The fact that you're giving this a 7, which is like a solidly good film, I think you would have felt a lot of the story like me, but for different reasons because I've seen the source material. I thought you would have thought, oh, they don't really explore a lot of these things. It's quite forced. I think you thought the pace was a bit too quick, just as I thought. But obviously I compare that to the source material. So I do think you might be the Mafia. And I think that Asher genuinely thought this was a good film. I think that you probably thought this was like a 4 out of 10.
Not a chance.
Bold.
I really liked this film. I think Asher liked this film. I think Asher rated this an 8.
An 8.
And
Let me talk about why.
The reason why I'm saying this, I'm not even going to bother to defend myself yet. I will if you ask me to, because I think I can present a case as to why Asher is more Mafia than I.
Go ahead.
And this case is the sense that Asher has been speaking almost nonstop about the things that he likes. He really liked this film, in my opinion, and I don't see why he would have rated this film an 8. Your opinions and everything that you have said is totally clear. I know for certain that you are a villager, just beyond the shadow of a doubt. And that means Asher has to be the Mafia because I'm villager, but also because there's no way he disliked this film.
Maybe I should have talked more about the things I didn't like.
Yeah, because you did mention there were a few plot points that didn't make sense. So
I'll just talk about that now.
Is that enough to rate it down
you've
2 points?
You've raised the suspicion. So the Damascus blade stopping halfway through the pipe to save them,
It was supposed to be molecular edge, wasn't it?
Right. It was supposed to just cut through anything with ease. Like, you know, his dark material's subtle knife. That was how it was described, as an infinitesimally small edge that could cut through anything. And it's Alita wielding it with her, whatever that means, power. Mm-hmm. It should not have stopped.
With her Panzerkunft Kung Fu, something like that.
Panzerkunst.
Yeah, Kunft, like German.
Panzerkunst.
Yeah.
But it should have just gone right through the whole time and then they'd both be dead.
Yeah.
But of course it couldn't do that because then the film franchise would be dead too.
I think Alita could have survived the fall.
Yeah. She had shock absorbed that.
Alita could have.
And she could have held him up and just gone,
she could have landed with him.
Yeah, and
Alita could have survived the fall.
A forced crisis.
Hugo couldn't have survived the fall because the blunt force trauma would have destroyed his head, so there was no option to bring him back as a cyborg again because his head would have been destroyed.
I found it tiring that Hugo had just been brought back and now he's again just running off recklessly and whatever. It's just irritating things like that, and the forced crisis of the blade. All of that. That's why I'm not rating this, even though I enjoyed it.
But that's like just one moment. Like, what else about the film?
And the Chiron's abandoned pieces, the self-healing Iron Man nanosuit.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, sure, nanosuits can self-heal, but I find it utterly weird that Ido wouldn't have theorized something like that because he's like, I can't fix you if you damage this suit. It's like, have a bit of confidence. Was weird.
It's like you've already seen the suit re-heal itself.
Literally reconfigure itself.
Because it's literally her body, so you can...
Yeah. It's like, calm down, man. Like,
maybe it's like with...
He's just being scientific. Like,
but that seems anti-scientific because...
No, he's observed this once. He doesn't know if it can rebuild himself.
But he didn't specify that. He made it a statement of fact. He said, I can't repair you.
And that is true. He doesn't need to repair her.
Yes, but the way he was phrasing it is if you should be worried.
Yeah.
Right. Of course he would say that to her because he's protective of her. And if anything to say, like, hey, be extra careful.
Yeah, but he could have just said that.
Because she could have been complacent because he's a very skilled cyberneticist who could have fixed her up at any point.
And the cheesy as fuck lines, which I think we've talked about.
Yeah, those were annoying.
Yeah. Just mostly in the first half of the film. And then 1 or 2 at the end.
The cheesiest moment was at the end where she sliced one of her tears in two. My eyes
You didn't like that?
She was hard.
There were so many moments.
I thought that bit was a little bit cheesy, but it was
those
fucking
moments,
cool.
Dude, my eyes were rolling back into my head, begging to look at my brain so many times during this film. I was like, fucking
Lewis,
foaming.
I think you're being convinced by the fact that I liked this film quite a lot and rated it high, and you're subconsciously wanting to believe in Asher because he rated it more closely to you. But you're going to be surprised when you find out that he's actually the Mafia and he really likes this film.
Well, the thing is, Asher is coming up. Like when he was lying, what was the last time you were lying to us? Was it? It was.
Oh, that was
Seventh
about
Seal?
4 seconds ago. No. What do you mean? Like when
when
I
you were
was
the Mafia.
The
That
Mafia
was
had
Seventh
to
Seal.
pretend. No, it was more recent
Yeah,
than that. I've
it
been
was
at
the
like
last
the
one, right?
last one.
Yeah.
Oh well, no, I guess I'm referring back to when it was the Seventh Seal. When we
Wait, no,
asked you,
I was Phantom of the Paradise.
The
That's
Seventh
right.
Seal was my first Mafia.
yeah, and then it was
Counselor.
Yeah, in those two times when you had to lie about the counselor when you had to lie about it being like good. I think when we put you on the spot, you had struggled a bit more coming up with moments. But here, you seem to be coming up with moments a bit more easily off the cuff, and you feel a bit more natural. You're like, oh yeah, that moment I didn't like that. You're going into a bit more detail than I expected. And I also think Andrew is really buttering me up. Like he's trying to like sort of he's been like, Lewis, you know I'm not the Mafia because
I have beyond a shadow of a doubt. You are the villager, Lewis.
yeah, that sort of stuff. I feel like he's buttering me up, and I do think, like, I guess I'd just say if I'd be surprised if Andrew liked this film but did not like Phantom of the Paradise.
Right.
No,
yeah.
you're being so stupid. This is insane.
But look, I wasn't done. I'd say, Asher, are there a few more
You're
things?
being convinced by your feelings.
Well, yes. What else would I be convinced by?
You've got to be convinced by the fact that Asher has been speaking. He's been easily able to speak about this film, so as opposed to the counselor, because he's remembered more of it. Because there's more to remember. Because
Okay.
he
Would you
liked
like to
it.
explain to me then, Andrew? Like, we don't have to do this, but I'd like to question you then. Could you briefly run over the things that you liked about the film? And when you get onto the action scenes, would you like to explain to me in detail what it was about the action scenes you liked? Like, was it the creative
The listeners
combat or
don't
the
have the
directing?
patience for that.
I just want him to briefly run over.
I
that,
think he's
just so I
already
get a better
done
idea.
that.
Because if he doesn't, then he doesn't have a chance to further defend himself.
I mean, of course, defend yourself, but
Yeah.
What I liked about. So you just want to ask me what I liked about the story, what I liked about
Yeah,
the
just
film.
the entire film, specifically the action scenes, because you did mention those quite a bit, and you were like, they were awesome, and I just
Yeah.
want to know why you thought they were awesome.
I
exactly.
thought they were cool. It was like very stylized sort of combat. She was doing a lot of Wing Chun. She was doing moves that were so fantastical and unrealistic. It reminded me a lot of Wuxia. I'm a huge fan of those sort of martial arts films, that sort of thing. It really reminded me of that, but with the modern take of robots and stuff, it gave it a really cool dynamic. The scenes were fast. They were interesting. There was like the claw thing was
The grind cutter.
like that was cool. It was crazy how, the scenes, I would totally admit, they did overuse the Matrix shot a couple too many times.
So many times.
In that scene. Only in the grind cutter scene where she's
dodging
But in
all
the
of
race scene, it was really good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, they only used it a few too many times in that scene. So I love the chase scene. I haven't seen anything like it. I'm surprised that you felt it was generic because they were on essentially roller skates that were, powered by them, this little remote control that they have in their hand, going at incredible speeds through the city.
was like
This is no
Death
longer
Race
this is no
plus
longer an
Red Line.
arena that is controlled, that has set up things. They're reacting. They're going around and reacting to what's actually happening. It made it more real. You see the big guy slam into something because he couldn't get past it. You see the small guy get destroyed by water because it was banged open by the big guy. That sort of thing. It was like a cool, natural, progressive chase. That sort of thing.
You did just go on about that for a while, so I am becoming a bit more convinced that you are a villager.
The film itself was good. I liked the film. The story was good. It was convincing. The characters were pretty realistic. I spoke about the cheesy parts that I disliked and the sometimes they didn't act realistically, but overall, it was impressive for like a Hollywood film, especially compared to the ridiculous cheesiness and the total unplausibility of superhero films. When I was considering rating this film lower until I realized that I liked it way more than most superhero films because of the interesting action scenes, because of there was actually time given to the characters. There was a lot of film. 2 hours and 20 minutes. That's enough time for me to actually get some proper development. Alita was reasonable, surprisingly. Hugo was mega cheesy. But even he had his troubles. It was cool. Like, I was like, whoa, when he was revealed to be a harvester. That surprised me, actually.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, this
Really?
is...
I was
did.
not surprised
It
at all.
surprised
It was just, I've got to go do something. I'm like, he's doing something naughty. He's... Fuck. I don't know why you got surprised by that.
It's
It was a cool, well
'cause I
done
was-
reveal,
I was,
right? It was dramatically done.
I was invested in it.
Weak boy.
I was invested in this film.
You said, Asher, do you think that I'm possibly the Mafia?
I'm confused now.
I'm just saying, straight out, do you have any suspicions about me right now, or do you just think it's Andrew?
Yeah, my suspicions have shifted to Andrew, not because
because he knows that you're the swing now.
because of this,
Okay.
but because like I think you've talked pretty well like on the things that I agree with that were good, and you're not talking about the inconsistencies, the convenience sort of things and I think that part of then, if Lewis was being genuine, part of Lewis's reasoning about certain things that could have been done better in the anime, I think these parts might have triggered you to actually rate it lower.
It's more likely that I would be agreeing with Lewis had I also seen the source material.
Right.
But I haven't. And
Yeah, no.
Lewis in his mind is getting like, oh man, if only Andrew knew, that sort of thing. I think he's letting his feelings get a little bit in the way here.
Disregard emotion, acquire logic.
Out of his respect for me and out of his belief that I like this sort of thing as opposed to that. I think you're being convinced in that sense by the true villain. He's sort of letting this happen. He swapped to me when he realized that you were targeting me.
Yep.
And he was fully prepared to choose you, even though, technically speaking, I had the weakest argument opposed to you. So he was initially choosing you because I was initially going off on you.
The issue is
criticizing your points.
The issue is you're very good at convincing me, and so it's just like, is this artificial convincing, or am I genuinely being convinced?
This is
He's
real.
going to tell you that it's oh, look at that.
But one thing that got me was I asked you if you thought I was Mafia, and you said no, you'd sort of moved over to Andrew. But then when Andrew was giving his explanation, you were like, oh, I'm surprised that you like that. And I guess to me that sort of implies that you think he's being genuine, which would imply that you yourself are the Mafia.
Well, I was sort of
Like that could have just been a slip up
okay,
in
guys,
words.
I'm bad at this game because I tend to prefer like the discussion of the film and critique over the game, which is why when I'm like listening to what you guys are saying, I'm like more interested in just talking and analyzing the film, which is what that was, where I'm just like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, I'm not coming off very well right now.
I don't think we need to go after him too hard for that, because that is like a genuine human thing.
And it was me complimenting Andrew, so Andrew's like, oh yeah, let's do more of that.
Oh man.
What's our recording length at now? About 120?
115.
Should we cast some aspersions on paper?
We should probably vote then, right?
Yeah.
Maybe just I'd like you two to make your cases to me just one final time, like 30 seconds, about why you are or are not the Mafia. Preferably if you are, come forward first.
Right. Andrew?
No, you can go first, Mafia boy.
No, but I will go first. I would like to watch this film again, so that's why it's over 50%. But a 6 because, like, just really frustrating, convenient. I've already talked about them. The parts that could have just been done way better didn't have to be included. Could have created the crisis moment without breaking the laws of physics that we've kind of established as being quite important this Blade. The nanosuit, I love the nanosuit. Again, I love the design of this film. Just click my pen into the microphone.
Nice.
Not good.
Mafia.
Yeah, I want to, if I watch this film again, perhaps these things would irritate me less, and I'd rate it something akin to what Andrew rated it, because a lot of what Andrew said that he liked about the film, I agree. It's just these parts that annoy me obviously don't annoy him as much. No. They're still delivering
and I don't think they actually
a good
annoy
story.
You.
They do.
You like this film, Asher, don't you?
I liked this film.
You like Krabby Patties, don't you, Squidward?
Oh, fuck, you got me. I do like Krabby Patties. But no, it's difficult for you to go, Asher, you like this film? It's like, I do. I rated it a 6.
Yeah, that's
that.
I mean, that would.
I'd like to see it again.
Me making a funny joke.
And because it was good value for money. I think it was 2 hours and 20 minutes.
And you didn't even pay for your ticket.
I didn't even pay for my ticket. That's right. We're sponsored by Reading Cinemas. Thank you, Reading Cinemas, for the partnership with Cinemafia.
Just kidding.
Get a large popcorn and a drink of your choice with forced ice.
$12.50.
Yeah.
Make sure you hit us up on audible.com for the popcorn code.
Guys, go up to Reading Cinemas The Palm and use code Cinemafia for 10% off tickets, guys. Make this happen.
Andrew,
man.
let's go over to you. Your final case.
Okay, I'll reiterate what I said before. I like this film a lot more than most Marvel films. And because it was better than Marvel films in the sense of the character development, and the action was just as good, if not better, in the sense that I could appreciate it. I totally understand why you don't like it. So this is why I rated that film more than I would rate these Marvel films, about a 6 or a 5. My rating was 7.25. However, Asher is definitely the Mafia, because he was trying to focus on you when I had a weaker case, because he was seeing that I was reacting to you, and initially right at the closer to the start thinking that you were Mafia, because like he picked up quite heavily when I said that's a convenient defense.
I thought I was the first one to mention that.
Even though I had a weaker argument comparatively to you, because you spoke for so much longer and you spoke eloquently and in great depth about what you didn't like about this film.
And handsomely, Lewis.
Handsomely. Okay, well, I think we're ready to make the vote.
Yeah.
I just think it'll be a bit more dramatic because I'm pretty sure Andrew's going to vote for Asher, Asher's going to vote for Andrew, so I'll be the deciding vote. So I think
We're going to reveal our votes and then you reveal yours?
Yes, I think. Because
whatever.
Yeah,
You
okay.
fucking...
Shall we write down our votes?
Yeah.
Even though I'm pretty sure...
It's A-N-D-R.
Oh, you changed the spelling of your name.
Oh, shit. If it's Lewis, Andrew...
Oh, okay.
It's not Lewis.
Okay, so we've written some
We've written
pretty
two
cheeky...
people.
There we go.
Okay,
Andrew
would you guys...
and Asher.
Yes,
So
I have voted for Asher, and Asher has voted for myself.
Okay, now I just want to say a few words.
Oh,
Just
God. And now a word from our sponsors. Reading Cinemas.
I think, first of all, I was thinking it was Andrew because I was like, that rating of 7.2, then 7.25, that seems...
I bumped it up for the meme.
I was thinking, if he gave that rating, he should know that it's way too obvious that that is like a Mafia tactic to give like an odd rating. But then I was like, but that's too obvious, so he's doing that purposefully. But then I was thinking to myself, I don't think Ash's issues with the film would have stopped him from enjoying it. I genuinely think he thought this was like an 8 out of 10, like a great film. All those annoyances, he probably was like, those are annoying, but they're not going to stop this from all those moments of action and world exploration that I enjoyed. So
Exactly for me.
I have voted for Asher.
Shall we reveal?
Yeah. Fuck you all. Guess what?
Yes!
I am the Mafia.
Hell yeah!
Phew.
Thank God.
8 out of 10, yeah.
Yes.
8 out of 10.
I knew it.
Yeah, no, those things were annoying, but like...
Yeah, I
fuck
totally
'em.
agree with
the
you.
Blade one, though, that is really annoying because that was an important part of the film.
Yeah.
The stakes
That's
were
what
high.
confused me because you reacted like viscerally, like what the fuck when that happened right beside me. So I was like,
Yeah.
maybe he did really not like these moments, but yeah,
No,
guess
but
not.
the other things like Sheeran, like, yeah, that's okay. You're allowed
Yeah,
to skip
exactly.
over that
Yeah.
stuff. The Iron Man suit, like Ito was correct. You know, I can't fix you. Yeah, you're right. Because
Yeah.
you don't understand this technology, and it is probably best to be conservative, right? That's fine advice to give.
Yeah, he was
and of
being
course,
scientific.
as scientific as Andrew said. And I'm really fucking pumped for a sequel, and I really want to watch this film again.
Oh my gosh.
I want to go back
I really
watch it
liked
again.
it.
Should we watch it again, Lewis? Why not?
Yeah, Lewis, come on.
Like, do you guys actually want to go see this again?
Nah, I'd be down, but
5
we
out
should
of 10,
we should
Lewis.
watch the. I mean, yeah, I just didn't think it was. Were there any moments in the last like 30 minutes where you're like, shit, maybe it is Lewis? Maybe he did really enjoy this take on different source material? Okay.
Andrew's good at this game. Unlike me, apparently.
Yeah, damn.
Fuck.
I think what would be cool is if we went and watched the OVA, if we watch those. Because
Sure,
they're
yeah.
basically the exact same as the movie, but just a few different takes. We could do that right after this because it's literally an hour.
Yeah, that would be cool. But
Yeah.
we won't be reviewing it on podcast.
No, we shall not.
There's actually someone I know in real life who looks kind of like Alita. But
Whoa,
like,
he's got
how
big
huge
eyes.
No.
Huge
Isn't this the only thing they
Is he
don't?
an anime?
He wants
It's a she.
whole
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have girlfriends?
Wow.
Yeah, but
I'm
they don't
jealous.
have ridiculously large eyes. They don't have ridiculously large eyes.
Okay.
They're normal eyes.
Did that annoy you at all? The big eyes?
No.
You just accepted it.
No,
You're
that
just
was
like,
fine.
that's the world.
It
When you-
annoys,
only
it
when you
annoys me
mentioned
on a
it.
conscious level, but
Only
I got
when
used to it.
you mentioned that no one, and I think you did too, that no one was acknowledging that, and it should have been obvious that this person was different and visibly a modified human.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was fine because they established only in this film that her people have that appearance.
It's annoying because I did find Alita's like actions like cute when she's like, you know, discovering the new world. But every time she would be like, oh, you know, this I'm so innocent in this new world, this new body. I'd be like, damn, those fucking eyes. You just look like a bug to me. You know, it's just
right. Oh,
really
and also
gets
the
under me.
They were
CGI
off-putting,
of the
but I did
face
use
without the eyes. I thought the CGI was fine because the faces are also synthetic. The cyborg faces that they've been operating
This
on are
film
synthetic
was
faces.
produced by James Cameron. I saw in the credits.
Oh, yeah?
Wow,
So
cool.
he's got a lot of experience with special effects, and I thought the special effects were basically fine.
If everyone had the same sort of eye issue, I wouldn't have had any issue with it at all because I'd be like, oh, this is like a sort of subhuman sort of species.
Evolution.
Yeah,
If
something
everyone
like
had
that.
those bug eyes, I would have found it kind of strange.
Yeah.
Like,
I
it's
don't
like
know how I
unnecessary.
would have found it. If everyone had it, it might have been alienating or it might have been the world. It's hard to,
Yeah.
it's hard to describe.
Well, do
Oh.
we have any other closing remarks
comments?
we'd like to make? Anything else that
No.
you were hiding from us that you now get a chance to reveal?
No.
Okay.
I was kind of theorizing that Alita would, you know, of course that ring was going to come down, and Alita would slice it in half with her blade, like
Yes,
just sort of come out in front and just
I was totally
nail it.
expecting that. I was
Yeah.
like, she's just going to slice it in half.
But then-
the cloud cover, she wasn't able to
Cloud
react
cover.
in
That was a
time.
cool thing. Yeah.
That's another thing they also
It was
introduced.
so menacing out of the clouds, and
Yeah.
it was way too close to.
Yeah. That was another little good addition because, again, in the anime, you can see the entire thing coming down for ages, and Alita doesn't tell him, like, get out of the way, it is coming. But I guess it's way quicker and that, and
Yeah.
that's when they have their come back with me, and they're exchange, like, holding out hands, like, okay, I'll come back with you.
Also, what are the chances that in the sequel Hugo survives?
I think he is dead in the manga, but original adaptation.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's plausible he could survive. He fell on something. That
Oh,
Yeah.
but then we did jump forward in
Or-
time, and
or
Yeah,
he
and the fact that we
bounced-
can see
he
her
bounced
very-
on the bottom of his torso, which may well he landed on it, which may have.
also it's so convenient. Then when people get sliced in half, they preserve the very important sort of thorax area, like when Alita got sliced in half below her original core. Very nice, because
Yeah.
if that had happened, like
Oh man, if it cut her half and a half, then she's
big
done.
explosion, the whole
Yeah.
city would have been leveled.
Yeah.
You could also imagine the in-story explanation would be that the torso, because it is so important because it holds the vital organs, they would make that stronger than the rest of the body.
Yeah,
so
but
that even if she
but-
was
but the-
attacked there, it might have like been able to withstand
Maybe.
it a bit more.
Maybe.
You can like they could have easily thrown that in if they needed to, you know, because it's writing. They can just make little magic.
Wow, it's amazing the human capacity to tell a story.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the latest episode of Young Sheldon? A bit of a throwback to
But
Andrew.
have you guys seen the latest episode of Cinemafia?
Oh,
You have now. You've
I
made it
haven't.
to the end.
is it any good?
Yeah, it's always good.
Yeah, it's always fun.
yeah, man.
Well, not for him. It's not good for him.
Yeah, I can't wait
You
to not be
loser.
Mafia.
It's not good if you're a loser.
I was really thinking the fact that I still have not been Mafia, I was like, I feel like now I'm going to have a massive target on my head because you
well,
guys are going to be like,
well-
at some point, he's going to be the Mafia.
But Andrew and I are not thuggish gamblers. I'm just a normal gambler, and Andrew realizes the system has no memory. So
Exactly.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us on this 5th episode of Cinemafia. I have been your main host, Lewis,
I've been Andrew.
and I am your not host, Asher.
and thanks for coming along for this ride.
Thanks
it was a
for
great
listening.
time. Join us next week when we shall be revealing.
Beep.
See you next time. Peace out. Goodbye forever.
Wait. You said revealing.
Wait, what?
Wait, are you still recording?
Yeah.
Thank God. You said join us next week when we will be revealing.
Yeah.
Did
we'll
I?
be yeah.
And then we played along, but that's not.
We'll be reviewing.
Reviewing.
The following
I'm gonna listen
film.
back to this
It's
tape.
called
Now that's how you do it.
Anyways,
Andrew.
let's close off. It's a goodbye from me.
and
See
a
you
goodbye
later.
from bye.
See ya. Peace out.
And goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
See you soon.
And you can join us next week where we'll be reviewing The Princess and the Frog from Disney Studios, released in 2009 and directed by John Musker and Ron Clements. Goodbye.